Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's RettSyndrome.org RettEd webcast. This is Paige Nues, Director of Family Empowerment at RettSyndrome.org. And it's with Happy New Year wishes that I welcome you to our first RettEd webcast of 2019. 2018 was an incredible year of research progress, learnings, sharing, and empowerment for all of us. And all of us at RettSyndrome.org continue to work hard through the holidays to roll seamlessly into this new year with increased drive, passion, and eagerness to continue all of the wonderful progress and momentum from 2018 and beyond. Our board of directors and all of us at RettSyndrome.org want to personally thank you for your support and engagement in improving the quality of life for all of our children and families. It's a team effort. You know you can count on us in every way. Rett syndrome is a rare disorder, and as such, continuous awareness, empowerment, and research is everything to us. I say that as both a parent to a beautiful 16-year-old teenager with Rett syndrome and as representing RettSyndrome.org. That awareness, empowerment, and research is a necessity, and it's the tie that binds us together into our rare but mighty Rett community. We are so pleased to bring you today's presentation for newer parents. We have a series of recommendations for a healthier start to your unexpected journey with Rett syndrome. With Rett syndrome being a childhood onset disorder with a prognosis of living well into adulthood, all of us have such a deep and long relationship with our loved ones with Rett syndrome and want nothing more than the best quality of life for them. So today we're going to address many tools and ways to achieve this while conveying the strong message that their health is directly linked to the quality of life and quality of our own parental care. And we're here to help you get yourself into a better position so that you are well positioned to help your child. Before we begin this great topic, I'd like to share some brief tech points on how GoToWebinar operates if this is your first time joining us. The audio feed is open to our presenters only, so you don't have to worry about your background noise interfering with the presentation. If you look to the upper right corner of your screen, you will see a control panel window. We invite you to type your questions or comments in the question field throughout the presentation, and we will answer these at the end of the slide presentations, as well as answer any questions that were pre-submitted at the time of your registration. If we don't get to your question today, we will work with our presenters, myself, Sam, Tristen, to develop a QA document and post it to the RettEd webpage once completed. If the control panel window is distracting to you, you can minimize or move the window, then you can expand it at any time if you wish to submit a question. Now, next point, this is very important. The session is being recorded, and we will post a link of the recording along with the QA document to the RettEd webpage so you can listen to it again or share it with others. You'll get an email within the next day or two with a link directly to that recording, and you're welcome to share that link, or you can visit the website to access the link. If you're having trouble hearing, please check and turn up the volume on your phone or device. We don't want you to miss any of our important information. So I'd like to introduce today's speakers. First, we have Sam Brant, who is the Family and Community Engagement Manager at RettSyndrome.org. Next, we're going to hear from Tristen Dinkel, who is with us, joining us today from our Denver clinic. Tristen went to nursing school at Trinity Christian College in Palos Heights, Illinois, started her nursing career in neurology at the Children's Hospital in Chicago before making a move out west with her husband to work in neurology at Children's Hospital, Colorado. If you have visited the Denver clinic, you have spent some time with Tristen, and if you have not had a chance to meet her yet, we really look forward to you getting to know her today. She's always worked in the neuroscience field with children and started running the Rett Clinic at Children's Hospital, Colorado with Dr. Benke in 2013. So she knows what she's talking about. And she wanted me to mention that when she isn't chasing the providers around the clinic, she's chasing her two kiddos around the house. So we know she brings to her work the perspective of both a caring mother and a trained expert practitioner. So welcome, Tristen. Welcome, Sam. What I'd like to do now is go ahead and turn the screen over to Sam Brant, who is going to tell us a little bit about herself and her role at RettSyndrome.org and share some great materials with you to help you on your journey. So Sam, if you're ready to go. Hi there, Sam. I can see your webcam and we see your slides starting to come up. We're in slideshow view. I don't hear your audio though.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. All right.
All right.
And if you want to go to a slideshow view, on your desktop, we'll probably be able to see your beautiful family even better.
Yeah. So I wanted everybody to see my face first so you knew who was speaking. And then I'm going to turn it over to my slideshow. So this is me. My name is Samantha Brant. I'd like to take a few minutes and introduce myself. My role here at Rett Syndrome, for those who know me, hello again. For those who don't, it's nice to meet you. So I'm going to go ahead and put my slideshow up. You're going to see pictures of my beautiful daughter, Sadie, who is 19, and my beautiful daughter, Macy, who will be 4 tomorrow. Happy birthday, Macy. Macy has Rett syndrome, so not only am I a mom, I am also the Family and Community Engagement Manager here at the Foundation. So, let's see here. I think everyone can see Sadie and Macy, just a couple pictures of them. So I just want to share a little bit of my role here at the Foundation. My role here is to reach out to newly diagnosed families and help them navigate their way through this diagnosis. I talk with them and gather resources, including and connecting them with another family nearby or their state representative. Whether newly diagnosed or an old pro at Rett syndrome, I'm here to share all of the resources we here at the Foundation have accrued from families just like yourselves that have graciously shared with us to make our journeys a little less painful. I become a friend, a cheerleader, a confidant, but mostly just another warrior in your family's corner when needed. I want to share a little background of our story, so please be patient with me as my voice may crackle. These memories are hard. It was a bright sunny day, the day our Macy Grace was born, January 9th, 2015 to be exact. She came into the arms of loving parents, a sister, grandparents, and many other family members who couldn't wait for her arrival. She was here and loved so very much. Time went on and Macy met milestones. She rolled, she laughed, she fed herself. She said, "Mama, Dada, ballin' up." We all delighted at her future and how smart she is, and wondered if she would be the next valedictorian of her class or college softball player as her sister previously. We also wondered how we were so lucky to be given a little girl who rarely fussed and was so laid back we could hardly get her to be motivated to work on new skills. We began noticing she was falling behind and other little girls her age were passing by her and sitting, crawling, and talking. We began to be concerned that it wasn't laid back, but possibly something else going on with her, our sweet little girl. She was perfect. How can anything be wrong with her? I can distinctly remember asking myself. My pregnancy was healthy and easy, her birth easy, and up until now, all had gone as planned. June 20th, 2016, the day of Macy's diagnosis of Rett syndrome. Can you imagine the symptoms of Parkinson's, epilepsy, autism, anxiety, cerebral palsy, and breathing abnormality all in one little girl? I couldn't either until I saw it in my own child. At 17 months old, Macy was diagnosed. Shortly after this devastating diagnosis, she began to follow the path of what Rett syndrome takes from our children. She lost her hand use. She wasn't able to pick up a ball, a baby doll, a piece of food any longer. She stopped saying mama and up. She had begun the destructive, regressive phase that is called Rett syndrome. Regression took her hand use, her words, her ability to crawl, walk, and even roll. Our family was shattered. Our thoughts of her future quickly turned from whether she would be a college softball player to how will I ever communicate or care constantly for her as she ages. Where will we live? How will I, as her mother, contribute to our two-person income family? How will she learn, grow, be educated? How will she tell us if something is wrong, if a stranger is hurting her in some manner? All of these thoughts are thoughts of parents with of children with Rett syndrome. Just when we think we had things under control, something new would occur. The simple task of swallowing became dangerous as she was found to be silently aspirating. A G-tube was in order, but not before our seizures began to knock us down just one more time and remind us Rett syndrome was always there. Every 2 hours, a girl and boy or boy is born with Rett syndrome. Their family will know nothing is wrong until 6 to 18 months from that day. Each of these children is cognitively present, yet their own bodies do not allow them to outwardly express, so they are assumed to be intelligently disabled. These children are fragile, but strong beyond our eyes. They are in their waiting to be given the opportunity to show just how smart they are. There's hope, and research is showing a positive direction and finding treatment. I next want to share another parent's words that encouraged me and hope to do also the same for you. Quote, I remember the first few months of diagnosis, trying every single day. Then it became once a week, then once every 2 weeks, then once a month. I never thought I'd crawl out of that depression. Time makes a difference, but I am still thrown into it, like most of 2018. I did not take care of myself. I did not put my oxygen mask on first. I live in triage, trying to stop the bleeding of Rett, telling my child and family that it will all be all right. But I can't see the everyday series of trauma we parents of special needs go through. Our baseline of okay or normal is not okay for a typical person. We have learned and grown so much in 8 years. We've learned to grieve the loss of a perfect child. We've learned that the stages of grief are ongoing: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. And we will probably never complete the steps because we will not accept that Rett syndrome is Cameron's life sentence. We've learned that a little sibling truly saves our lives. We've learned that life goes on. We've learned that this is not our fault. We've learned that we are not victims, we are fighters. We've learned that we were dealt a wicked hand, but we'll always reach into our pocket to ante up. 2019 will be the year of new beginnings, putting on our own oxygen masks, and exciting changes to keep the good fight up. Families, this is why we at RettSyndrome.org encourage advocacy, education, connectivity, and research of Rett syndrome. Families like mine, Tammy's, and yours need each other to battle together. I hope each of you listening today will join me in reaching in your pockets and anteing up in 2019 to be a part of our team to battle Rett syndrome. Thank you, Jackie and Cammie, for letting me share a little bit of your insight into your world. I would like to now take a moment of silence for the families who are battling this devastating syndrome, those who have passed, and for those who do not yet know their child has Rett syndrome. Thank you all for your respect in joining today. I would now like to share some quick resources with you to take away on your journey. The first resource is going to be our 100 Days Pathway pamphlet. Each of you who has received a new parent packet in the mail should receive this 100 Days Pathway pamphlet. You see, it starts with 30 days. It breaks it down to medical research, things of that nature, on to 100 days. This is where you can organize your thoughts, families. This is where you want to begin to journal. You want to begin to journal your milestones of your child, so that way we can share with our clinicians. It's a wonderful way to organize step by step so you don't miss anything, especially during this time. The next bit of information I want to share with you is an emergency form. This is on our website. It's under downloadable resources. I encourage each and every one of you to take this and plug your own child's information in and keep this with you and any caregiver at any point in time. That way, it's great for daycare. That way, if you need your medical needs met quickly for your child, it is there. Next, I want to share our Rett syndrome clinics across the United States. You will see a list here. This also can be found on our website. A Rett clinic has specialists specifically for our children. They are educated and updated on the latest information pertaining to Rett syndrome, including seizure-related treatments, medications, GI issues, behavioral, etc. I encourage every family to visit a Rett clinic at least one time a year to keep up to date. The next is our website. I want to share for families. If you guys are on our website, you can look under and you will see for families. You'll see angel awareness cards. You can see Luisa's here, where you can share. I call them our kids' personal business cards, because to me they're rock stars and they need to be shared. And it shows a quick synopsis of Rett syndrome. You'll see our personal pages where you can share your story, share your journey, and fundraise if you would like. You'll also see under About Rett Syndrome, if you go down, you'll see downloadable resources. That's where you're going to find many great downloadable resources as far as coloring books for your other children or your preschool classrooms, kindergarten classrooms, for the other kiddos to share and understand what Rett syndrome is for inclusion of your child. The next thing that I encourage families to do is journal and keep storage of all their medical records. You can scan, put it in a Google Drive, and use a backup USB. That way, at any point in time, you can quickly refer. I also suggest color coordinating any medical paperwork. I use red folders for GI, green folders for neurology. It's a great way to organize all of your needs, medical or otherwise, for your child. We also have specialized growth charts that will be under downloadable resources. As you know, each child has a growth chart, but Rett syndrome has their own growth chart for height, weight, BMI, and head circumference. If anyone has a problem finding this, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be happy to help you find these or send it to you. Here are just a couple sayings that got me through my first year and beyond. Welcome to Holland is a wonderful poem for those. And then you're going to see in the corner that says, want to be a good mom, take care of you. I wholeheartedly mean take care of you, mommy and dad. You feel guilty for not doing something every second of the day, but don't feel guilty. You have to put your oxygen mask on first and make sure to take care of you. And then lastly, I would like to share about the natural history study. Each of our Rett clinics, you will see back here the asterisk beside those who participate. I encourage each of you to participate in the natural history study. If you'd like to know more, I'd be happy to share, as well as this is a chance to contribute to research that will impact future development to make more efficient clinical trials, designs, and progress towards treatment. Any age, girl or boy, can participate and leave their fingerprint on research for Rett syndrome. Lastly, I want to share my card, my information, my phone number, my email. You can reach me at any time, day or night. You can simply send me a text, an email, or a phone call. I am here to help each and every one of your families navigate through this. So thanks for having me today.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for your incredibly personal presentation, sharing about your family and your emotional and personal commitment to the professional work that you do for RettSyndrome.org. If anyone has any questions for Sam, please go ahead and type them into the question box of your control panel, and we'll have plenty of time to talk at the end of our presentations today about any questions that you may have. And please take a screenshot of Sam's email and her cell phone. She is always available to you, as all of us at RettSyndrome.org are, as well as our partners throughout our Rett clinics. And so with that transition, I would like to now introduce, well, I already introduced Tristen, but I want to welcome Tristen and turn the screen over to you if you are ready.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay, great. Let me turn this over to you, and
thank you, Sam,
and thank you for
all of that. Maybe I should have gone first. That made me a little emotional before I have to present. Wasn't prepared for that. So thank you for listening in, everyone, today, and thanks, Paige, for just letting me talk today. I work here at the Children's Hospital, Colorado, the Rett Clinic here with Dr. Binky, and I'm the nurse coordinator here. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about today about our clinics, our programs, and just a little bit about what we do and kind of the clinical side of stuff and a few other things. So, the best and my favorite part of my job is giving the pep talks, because we can't have enough of them. And that's why we have 3 of us on this talk today, is because there can't be enough people telling you how amazing you are, how supported you're going to be on this road that you've been set upon. My first phrase to families when they call my clinic is usually, "I'm sorry this isn't where you expected to be, but I'm thankful you have a direction to go and an answer to your questions." And I say this because there's so many families left to wander without an answer and would love a place like this to call home and a community like this. But our goal in this talk is, more importantly, with RettSyndrome.org and with all our Rett clinics, is to help you take care of your child and make sure you're prepared. Make sure you feel equipped to care for them emotionally, medically, every way possible. But in order to take care of them, you have to be mentally ready, emotionally ready, and you can't take care of them. You can't walk into our clinics or take any of the information we're going to give you if your life is overwhelming, if everything's just kind of overwhelming you, because we're going to throw a lot at you when you walk into clinic, any of the clinics. Because you get up at all times of the night. You potentially give up a job to care for them, or you're maybe working extra jobs to care for them. You're giving up your bedroom for them. You're giving up cool cars to drive handicap vans. You're giving up everything because, they're worth it, as all your kids are. But I want you to get in you time. And I think, Sam talked about that a little bit, but I know this is lofty because they are your everything, and you want them to get the best care possible, but they need you. And as she said, it's the airplane rule. It's to put on your oxygen mask first before you can help others. And this includes your health. This includes your mental health, your breaks, your food, your working out, like she had put on that little list there. But you guys are super parents. We know this. Everyone around you can see it, but you need self-care. And I just kind of put a little list. First off, taking care of you, taking care of your relationships, whether that's personal relationships, if you're in a marriage, whether your friendships. Friends are going to be the ones that keep you sane, that are going to carry you when you call and you need something, they're the ones that are going to carry you through the storm. So making sure you're taking care of those friendships is essential. And your other children, just making sure they're getting separate time and separate energy when you can. I know it's hard. They need breaks. They need the ability to recharge, and you need the ability to recharge so that you can take turns loving on all your children. I just listed out Hope Kids, just a great program that supports families, allows you to go do things in your communities. Some communities have this, some communities don't, but there's other programs like this that are a charity or a free group that allows you to go do things as a family that are handicapped, and they do things that you can go do with wheelchairs, that you can do with kids that have special needs. And I think it's just a great program that allows you to go do things that you might be like, I don't know if we could do that. They closed down a bowling alley, they closed down an ice rink, things like that would allow you to go do things with your kids that you might be a little weary of doing otherwise. So counseling, I think just remembering that there's all kinds of counseling. There's personal, there's marriage, there's grief, there's group, there's kids, there's play therapy, even for your other kids, just to process through a new diagnosis is really important. And to say, okay, what does this look like? And just remembering that there's all kinds of therapy to help you through different situations in your life, and whether it's you need it now, whether you need it then, whether you need it in the future. I think there's different parts of your life where you can go through these things. So vacations. I think there's just a reminder that it may not look like everyone else's vacations, and that's okay. I'll get to social media in a second, but don't compare your vacations to other people's, and maybe take vacations alone if you can, or even just weekend trips. But just remembering that there's just different kind of vacation spots you can go to, and whether it's just a quick weekend, whether it's Maddie's place in Texas, or just all kinds of options and ideas, and just do it. Go take them, don't put them in a bubble, and go live your life and make sweet memories that everyone's going to remember, that your children are going to remember and be like, oh, you remember when we went and did this? And I think those are just the special things that you need. If you're going to come to one of our clinics, add it on. If you're going to travel really far and be like, oh, we've never been to Denver, come up here, come go to the mountains, go do things that you've never thought you were going to do, but you're like, well, we're already going to be traveling, go do it. If you need letters to travel because you're traveling with oxygen, you're traveling with special things, ask your providers to do it. They'll do it in a heartbeat. So let us help you with that if you need. I think that also things is with social media, when I've been through tough times in my life, I've had to take a step back from social media because it hurts too much. Because comparison is the thief of joy. And just remembering, don't let it steal the joy of enjoying your child for whoever they are, exactly for who they are right now. If you have to get off or step back from social media because it hurts too much to see other children the same age doing different things, then do it. I think that's a talk I have to talk with some families about because it's important. Sometimes you have to say, you know what, my kid's losing skills, or my kid's not doing the same, and it's hurting me to see that. Step off, get back, get out, because you need to enjoy your child for exactly where they are, and that's an okay thing to do, especially here at the beginning. If you're newly diagnosed, wherever you're at, just get off, because the pain is really, it's new and it's fresh, and it's okay to take a break. And that's an okay thing. If you need me to tell you that right now, get off. Take a break. Say it's a New Year's resolution to spend less time on social media so no one else's feelings get hurt. Take help when it's given. Say yes. Accept help. Pull these Russies up here. Just accept help. I'm going to say this for you and maybe a little bit for myself because I'm not good at saying yes and taking the help when it's given to me. And all those I just hear this a lot from my parents, is that they feel like a burden. They, don't want to ask too much of too many people, but let others help. Don't feel like you're a burden. And this isn't just for you, but for those who offer the help to you. Your children are a blessing to all of those they meet. The more people you let care for them or come in contact with them, the better your children leave the world. They have such a big impact. And the more people they meet, the more hearts they change. and just let people love them and let people just share them with the world. I had so many parents that come in and they're like, oh, no, I don't trust anyone to care for them. And I just feel like there's so many people that would love the chance to meet your child and care for them and love them. And I told some parents that, and they're like, oh, I never thought about that. I just felt like I was a burden. And I'm like, no, people want to love on your child. And so I just recommend just letting people do that. So, and I just wanted to share this. One of my families had shared this with me, and just remembering to think outside the box. I mean, there is so many fun things you can do with your child that you think maybe you couldn't do. And I mean, she is in a wheelchair full time, and her mom, even if you're not a skier, there's people that can do this for you, but her mom takes her skiing. And I just think it's such a beautiful, wonderful thing that she makes these memories and does these things. And so just remembering you can do lots of fun things. So getting to my clinical side of my job, Pep Talk's over. Well, no, it'll continue, but so primary care. I just wanted to talk a little bit about a second about your primary care doctor or your pediatrician or whoever that looks like in your life. So these arrows, this is my little makeshift drawing here. These arrows are all the specialty people that your child may see or hasn't seen yet, but is going to see at some point. So say, one arrow is a GI doctor, one arrow is a physical therapist, one arrow is a neurologist. These are all the specialist people that are feeding into your child and seeing your child. This red arrow, or this red circle, is going to be the pediatrician. That person, or that office, that person should surround your child. They should be absorbing all of those office notes. They should be collecting all of those visits and be getting copies of all of those visits so they know exactly who your child is seeing, how often they've been seen, what's needing to be done. Say the GI doctor's being like, okay, well, we need to get an endoscopy done, or we need to be doing X, Y, and Z. That should be being sent into this red circle, into the pediatrician, and being circled around you so that they are protecting you and making sure they're all in the know of what's happening to your child. And this is your little kiddo here, right in the middle. So they're surrounding you, they're protecting you, they're your barrier circle to care, and they're trying to encircle you and take care of you. They disseminate it, they hold it, and they are on your team. If they are not on your team and taking care of you, then find a new one. I'm giving you permission. Adult primary care. I know there's some of you maybe listening that are a newly diagnosed adult. I know it's hard out there. It's harder to find an adult primary care person that is knowledgeable to special needs, but it's out there. And share. Anyone who has a good one, share it. Share it on websites, share it on social media, share it with your clinics, because the more we know about the good ones out there, the more we can help each other out. So, what do you want in a primary care provider is important to know when you're picking one out, or if you already have a good one, or if you're looking for a new one, because you're like, the one we have isn't really fitting our needs. What do you want? You want someone that's teachable. This is going to be basic and reasonable. You want someone who's teachable. You want someone who has an accessible office. When you call, they answer the phone. They maybe have the ability to email. They maybe have really good abilities to message back and forth. They have a good front desk. With my kiddos, with the pediatrician, they have a nice front desk that when I call, they're kind. This makes a big difference when you're calling to get stuff all the time. It's a big difference. And this can go not just for your pediatrician, but all your neurologist, your GI doctor. When you're picking out someone, just remember these things. These are important ways to pick out a provider. An online system or a way to contact them. And do they connect with your local hospital? We use something called Epic. And when I went to pick out my child's pediatrician, I made sure their pediatrician office connected with our hospital here at Children's. So they have Epic, and then this hospital has Epic, so that if my child's seen out in the community, every visit there connects here at the main hospital. So if they ever have to come to this main hospital, they can see every visit to my pediatrician as well. And all the information is connected. If you notice, I do not have Rett syndrome listed up here. It's very obvious, but I don't. And it's because not all providers may know about it, or they may know about it, but they may not know the exact gene that's affected. And that's okay. But if you go back to number one, are they teachable? Can you teach them? Or are they willing to go out and learn? Are they willing to go do research and say, okay, I don't know exactly everything there is to know about Rett syndrome, but I am willing to go learn. That is perfect. That is exactly what you want to hear from a provider, that they are willing to go learn and they are dedicated to that. And that is perfect. That is exactly what you want to hear from a provider, that they are dedicated to that. When do you go? This seems basic, but sometimes it isn't. Sometimes that you get in the cycle of going to your neurologist for everything, and then when you get sick, you go, oh, just call my neurologist. Nope. Let's just get back to that circle of going back to your pediatrician. You want to go there for the yearly healthy person visits. Sometimes you're going to the hospital or going to the specialist so often, you kind of forget that 6-month-old, that 9-month-old, that 12-year-old, that 12-month-old, that 18-month-old visit, that 2-year-old visit, that 3-year-old visit. All that kind of stuff still needs to happen despite all the specialty visits, the sick visits. And then even the yearly Rett annual visits, which we'll kind of talk about, and then Paige will kind of talk about the bigger stuff here, the recommendations. But they can do those as well when you're not coming to one of the big Rett clinics. And if you can't come to one of the Rett clinics, your pediatrician can help follow those guidelines. And so just remembering that they can help do that. And then the adult is the same thing, but you need to, as they move into the adult years, also add in cancer checks, breast exams, pap smears, these kinds of things that as adults don't go away, unfortunately, and build in. So just remembering these kinds of things also need to be checked and watched as aging occurs. And then these we'll be covering in the guidelines and we'll see, but these are things that also your pediatrician can be watching that are part of the Rett guidelines that we'll be talking about. So just a quick, showing that they can be checking these things as well in their office, and you don't have to, if you're coming to the Rett clinic, we can watch these, but if you're not available to come to a Rett clinic, it's okay. These things can be done locally, and they can be done through your pediatrician. So what are the Rett clinics, and what can be done? So are they worth the hype? I kind of was thinking, if that would be my first thought, okay, these Rett clinics, they talk about them, but are they worth the hype? And my first thought is, heck yeah, they are. And it's not, I'm not just saying that because they give me a paycheck, it's my job. But we are the guidepost on care. These providers are they are the providers to call when your providers are baffled on care and what to do next. We are the experts. They stay up to date on care, on research and all the new treatments and on care. They know it all. They just know everything on Rett syndrome, and not everything, but they just really are staying up to date on everything that's being done and said. And I think that we really are the guidepost on care and the providers to consult. And we really are setting the standards of care. And I think that, we call in with all the other centers of care each month to talk and educate ourselves on what's happening. We keep in touch about what's happening with Rett Care and what all the other clinics are doing. We spend, our time and energy doing research, making calls, reading papers. And why do we do this? We do this for you guys, so that we can give the most excellent care possible. And that's why they call us the centers of excellence, because they are excellent. It isn't just a word that they're out there just to do these things. So that when you come to our clinic, that you leave saying, wow, that was worth the trip. I learned so much. I feel more prepared to face the future with my kiddo. And they're available to do doctor-to-doctor consults with your doctors. And I think that by coming to a clinic, you feel like, okay, I left. I'm able to go home and have someone on my team that knows Rett syndrome and is able to answer questions. And when I go home and the providers go, I don't know, we're just going to blame it on the Rett. And we can say, no, I don't think it's actually the Rett causing this, because Rett does X, Y, and Z. And the providers at home can then go, oh, then maybe we should explore A, B, and C instead, because it wasn't Rett. And I think that's where we come into play, these Rett clinics and Rett consults. And I think you just saw this earlier on the slide, but I just wanted to remind you, like, where are we? Sometimes it feels kind of like a Where's Waldo, like, where are these clinics they talk about? But, there's 19 clinics in 16 states. And if one clinic can't get you in due to insurance issues, try another. We all work to serve you and help you and give you the best care possible. So I think that calling around, reaching out, finding out one that meets what you need the best is what we're here for. And calling out to us, and you saw the resources and where to get it on the other pages. Every clinic's unique. There's 19 clinics, there's 19 ways of seeing you. But that's why we created the care guidelines, was to keep the care uniform, so you know what we're saying, what we're recommending is very uniform in the way that we're telling you to go get care this way and that. We're here to guide your care specific to Rett syndrome. We may all run a little differently, and in the way that some clinics might become your sole care provider, and some clinics might only consult you every couple months or every 1 to 2 years. And I think that's the way that we all run a little differently in that way. Some are smaller, some are bigger in the way that how many providers you'll see at the program. And that's just how it runs. It's just how many we were able to get into our hospital space. It's just the logistics sometimes at the hospital. And it's okay to find out which one fits. We're all here as coordinators. It doesn't hurt our feelings if you say, you know what, this one doesn't fit. I called you, but we're going to go somewhere else. Okay, sounds good. I'm just happy you're able to find some care. So just let us know, whatever. Educate yourself on research, on coordinating visits. If you, like we talked about the natural history study, or looking at clinical trials, clinicaltrials.gov, and seeing what clinical trials are going on, seeing which ones are going on where, that if you're like, you know what, natural history study, I want to coordinate a clinic visit with this place at the same time. Remember, you could do those kinds of things that if you're going to do one trip, you can do multiple trips at once, and just remembering that there's those kinds of options. And we can work on those at the different sites to figure out what might work for your family and your life at that time. Everyone's situation is different. Just a little bit about our team here. Just so you can kind of see how our team, and every team's a little different. Just wanted to show you some faces because it gets a little boring when I talk so long. Sorry, I had to take a drink. So our team, just so you can get a little visual of what a team might look like at a site. So our team's very large. Just going to give you a warning. So our Rett Clinic team, and just so you kind of know a huge range of the specialists as well. Just letting you get a little visual here. So we have neurology, me, rehab. So you do know that we have neurology, and then we do have an epileptologist. We have our medical director, Dr. Binky, and we have an epileptologist as well. So we do have extra specialists. Rehab, genetics, genetic counselor, pulmonology, ortho, developmental pediatrics. Someone that can help guide you on sleep is what their kind of main job is. Cardiology, GI, behavioral psychology, kind of dealing with some of the behaviors that we tend to see with anxiety and kind of some of that kind of stuff. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, or working with communication devices, nutrition, social work, family navigator, gynecology, our staff assistant that helps us schedule everything, and then our palliative care team member. So just listing that all out here. These are just the types of specialties you can see within a team at any of the clinics. Some will be a hodgepodge of this. Some will say, okay, you'll see these people. Our clinic, you will see almost all of those providers you just saw. So we're a very large clinic when you come to our clinic. Some of the clinics you may see 3 of these. Some of these you may see 5 of these. Some of these you may only see 2 of these, and that's okay. It's whatever works for your family and with that clinic. But I think just knowing that getting a group of these people on your team is important. So remembering, okay, we should get a therapist, making sure we have a pulmonologist on our team if we need, and a GI person on our team, and just remembering the different kind of specialists listed here that you should kind of move to have on your team is important. It doesn't mean that you have to see a clinic that has every one of these in the clinic like we do. That's why we have all these wonderful clinics across the country, is to meet your needs. So just remembering, your child may need a sliding scale of these providers. They may not need all of these. And if you have a son, you can obviously kick out some of the, the gynecologists. That's obviously not needed. And I know on my last list, I only listed physical therapy, speech therapy, and occupational, but there are so many kinds of therapy that can be a part of your care team. And that list can be endless and lifelong. I mean, here's a short list of types, but there are so many types of therapy. I mean, art therapy, music therapy. Music therapy has just been so fun for some of our families, and water therapy and horse therapy and animal therapy in general, just getting dogs around, and some of the just fun things that we've heard, family yoga therapy, massage therapy. There is a lot of therapies that some of our families have said, this has worked really well for our child. Just remembering that every child's unique and what they need is just unique. I know it seems mindless and routine, and it takes over your life and your time and your schedule, but it's so worthless, so worth it in the end. And it doesn't have to be all the time, every time. Just because you have therapy doesn't mean it can't be fun. Just make it fun. Your kids are kids, and even if sometimes you just do something like music therapy because it makes them smile and they have fun while they're doing it. If you need your team to write letters, if you need us to be on your team or help you get a different wheelchair, I've written till I was blue in the face to help get a bike for someone because it helped them just move their body more than a wheelchair. Don't quit. Just keep moving. Help get your team to write letters if you need. We will do what we need at some of these centers in our clinics to just do what we need, get you the therapies you guys need the best we can. I know some of these aren't always covered by your insurance, but just doing what you need to do to make therapy fun, take breaks if you need from the serious therapies that are to just take some ones that are just really fun and work for your family and your child. The other thing I just wanted to bring up, which isn't always fun to talk about, but it's really important, is to talk about giving clinic and hospital feedback. Just to give you permission if you need it. Some people do not need it, to give us their honest opinion. But if we're not meeting expectations or we're not, or needs, the only way we can continue to give exceptional care is by getting your feedback and growing and changing from what you're saying. This didn't work for us, and this is why. Or some of the biggest changes in my program came from parents who came back to me and said, Tristen, the billing came back and it wasn't what I was expected. I realized that our pre-authorizations weren't going as smoothly as they should have been, and I changed the entire process based off one parent giving me their honest feedback, and it's made it better for the whole clinic population. So again, if no one tells me that it's a problem and parents were just getting upset about the bills, then I couldn't change it. So we can't make those changes if you don't tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so we at our clinic personally ask for it after every new clinic visit, to go ahead and tell us and let us know. And if you don't feel comfortable telling the direct clinic and saying, hey, you know what, this didn't go well for us, go ahead and tell RettCenter.org or a local Rett group or, some kind of group that can let the family know, or the hospital itself, and just let us know. So just so you know as well, it can reach higher levels. If you want to make changes within your hospital, keep it going. Work within patient advocate programs within your hospital, or go work with RettCenter.org and help volunteer to make changes with them and make some big changes for them as well. And I think just remembering that these kinds of things are really fun ways to get involved. And but I promise, once you start the truth train, you won't want to stop. You can get really involved in some of these groups and make some big changes and really keep it going higher up within the hospital. And these are even just ways to make a big change even with a 10-minute survey. So just remembering those surveys may seem small and minute and silly, but they really do make big changes for us. So, and then just resources, remembering that you have local groups. A lot of you guys have local Rett groups. We have Rocky Mountain Rett Association locally, but depending on where you're located, just remembering to plug into those. Clinics, use us. Use the ones, if you don't have one near you, even if you can't, go to that clinic, reach out to them, see if they have resources for you. Let us help you. Let us do what we can. RettSyndrome.org, remember just their website, the people, the events they have, these webinars. It's all built for you. It's here to support you. These webinars, just all of it's here to just be there for you guys and educate. And then just each other. I think, that I've talked about the negative social media, but I think there is a lot of positive with joining some of the parent groups and supporting each other. And we work a lot with the Nebraska families, and they have such a great, strong support group on their Facebook page for each other in Nebraska. And I think it just shows me, even though they don't have an official Rett local group up there, but they have such a network up there of care. And I think that if you don't have that where you live, then maybe if you're feeling that tug, then maybe you should be the one to start that and support each other. Because I think there's a really beautiful way to share resources and say, this didn't work for us, but here's a great place to go find, use wheelchairs. Here's a good place to go find X, Y, and Z. And I think remembering to share those things is the only way that sometimes you can get through this stuff. So just be kind with each other, have grace, and help each other. You know this road and how to navigate it better than anyone else. And let those further along than you guide it. My goal isn't to give you anything else on this to do, but just know that at my Center of Excellence, and I'm sure that I can speak for all of the other ones, that we are so incredibly honored to take any part of your child's care and be a part of the team and be part of their life. I think Sam shared, but it's just, your children are so special, and they're special to us, and we truly enjoy what we do, all of us that care for your children, and we are thankful to do it. We're thankful to meet them and care for them, and thank you for taking the time today to listen to us and to call in or listen later and learn all you can to care for your children. This is what makes you guys amazing and such a privilege to care for.
Thank you, Tristen. That was an incredible presentation. I can't tell you how grateful we are for all of the wisdom, empathy, compassion, enthusiasm, and positivity that you bring to your clinic, to your families. Recommendations are spot on. And as a parent and as a representative of RettSyndrome.org, I couldn't have asked for a better representative from one of our clinics to share with us today all of these recommendations on how to keep yourself healthy as parents, but also the resources and recommendations for helping kids. Thank you so much. Please stay on the line. I'm going to talk about a few other resources that we have available for our attendees and our community in general. And then once I talk about those, we're going to open it up for questions. Okay, so Sam and Tristen, thank you for those great slides. I'm going to take over the screen in just a moment and talk about another resource. But before I click over to this resource and talk about it, I want to underscore some of Tristen's closing thoughts, which is we're throwing a lot at you today. And the purpose of that is to get it in this recording, to get the lists out there, to help you when you need it. It's really not to make you get off the phone and feel overwhelmed and exhausted. It is with a to-do list. These are guidelines to help you organize the things that you already know are needed in your life, to give you permission to take time to prioritize, to attack things in an orderly fashion and not feel like you have to get everything done in a single day. And we want you to do this webinar knowing that you have an entire team out here to help you. And on any given day, whether it's through social media, through reaching out to rettsyndrome.org, or reaching out to any one of our expert clinics, we can help you emotionally or practically, whether it's symptom management or just you're like, okay, so here's this 100-day pathway, great, but I'm actually here, and this doesn't come till day 90. Well, this is not a prescriptive 100 pathway. Again, it's just a list of recommendations to kind of make you feel like you can do this. And I speak from having a few years of experience on the journey that, I'm going to quote something that I caught on someone's Facebook page today, and it was just perfect. It said, it's really easy to love my daughter, but it's very hard to meet the personal needs of her syndrome every day. Maybe I'm not quoting it exactly, but that's about it, right? I think we all have that in common. We love our children and we'll go to the ends of the earth for them, but sometimes it's overwhelming. We are not doctors. Rett syndrome does not discriminate. It affects everyone equally around the world, and all of us come to the journey with different levels of education, experience, support, family, friends, and we don't want you to do it alone. We want you to know that you've got these resources out here. Okay, so thank you, Tristen. Thank you, Sam. We're coming up to the top of the hour, which is perfect timing. What I'd like you to do is take a look at your GoToWebinar dashboard. And over on the right, you should see a drop down that says handouts. And I've got 4 attachments there in handouts that we have referred to today. I'm not changing the screen. You're just looking at your GoToWebinar dashboard. You see the 100-day pathway. It's an electronic version. You can download it straight here from the webinar, but it's also available on our website. The 2018 fact sheet final is that list of clinics that Sam shared. The emergency info example is also a document that Sam shared. And the 4th one is the document that I want to share with you today that just was released today. Hopefully you received an email from us this morning or caught it on Facebook, Rett Syndrome Primary Care Guidelines. If you'd like, you're welcome to open that up if you're at your desk, and you can pull it up directly, or I'm going to take you to our website right now and show you where you can download it when you have a chance. So at rettsyndrome.org, under About Rett Syndrome, Living with Rett Syndrome, we have a link to something called Care Guides. Okay. Everyone should be familiar with the Rett Syndrome Handbook, right? That's our Bible for Rett Syndrome. I have read it cover to cover. I have it marked up in the margins. I've made notes throughout Katie's life. I know that it's a reference book for me as a parent to help with issues that come up with her. I know that not everything in the handbook is something that Katie is going to experience. I want to reassure you, if you've received that handbook in the mail and you have it sitting there and it looks a bit daunting and scary, that it doesn't mean that your child is going to experience everything discussed in that handbook, but it's there as a reference guide for you and for the different folks in your life who are trying to help your daughter so that they can get a more solid grounding in Rett syndrome, whether it's on therapies or symptoms. But that book itself is pretty large, it's pretty overwhelming, hard to carry around in different places. What we are excited to introduce today is a very simplified, abbreviated version of a lot of the wisdom in the handbook called the Rett Syndrome Primary Care Guidelines. It's the first of its kind for Rett syndrome. It is the most current information that we have sitting here in January 2019. And it's a tool that was created by your Rett experts, the North American Rett Clinic Collaborative, syndrome.org, under the project leadership of Rett syndrome experts Dr. Mary Jones and nurse practitioner Katie Hale. We also have a great debt of gratitude to Children's Hospital Colorado, Dr. Tim Benke, and Tristen Dinkel for helping us bring these primary care guidelines to fruition. This is a very, very simple tool that we hope will be in the hands of your primary care physician, your child's pediatrician, every person on your care team. We hope you will hand deliver a copy of this checklist. I'm going to scroll through. I'm not going to spend time going through each and every line because it's very short. But one of the most common questions that we hear families ask all the time is, how often should I get checks for nutrition, growth? What should we be looking for in our neurology? What should our neurologist be looking for? But how often should we get that EKG? This is a simple checklist that we want your pediatrician, your child's primary care physician, to have on hand as a guideline. Again, this is not going to be every line on this guideline is not going to be applicable to your child, but it's going to keep them attentive to the things that they should be looking for at every visit. And we want every subspecialist to kind of be attuned to the things that are unique about Rett syndrome. There are over 7,000 rare diseases. One of 7,000 rare diseases. Put that in the context of the common things that bring each of us to our doctor on any given day. Go back to the beginning of Tristen's presentation where she listed the things that you want to find in care providers in your life. You want them to be open to learn, them to be willing to advocate on your behalf. We can't expect every generalist to be a Rett specialist, but we can provide them something like this tool to help them become a better expert and to be in tune with the things that we commonly see in Rett syndrome. Again, may not be an issue with your child, but at least they're looking for it. Your child is going to change over time. We might catch things earlier. The earlier we can catch them, the better we can intervene and help. And we can help in a lot of these areas. So we want the GI specialist, your gastroenterologist. If you're going for a GI checkup, we'd like your GI doctor to have this checklist so that they're also kind of looking beyond just their specialty to also say, hey, when was the last time you got an EKG? They can look into, as saying they're the hospital systems, they can take a quick look during your visit to see if you've had the blood tests, the EKGs, some of the therapies. They can ask these questions. They want to ask these questions. They want you to be on track. They want to help your child, but they don't know the common things that happen commonly. So this 2-page checklist, we hope will be spread far and wide. We're working on getting it published, so that practitioners will get it first, and they will have access, and they will be looking before you walk into their office. Okay. Also a good idea, maybe if you have access to the email, you can email them before your next well-child visit and ask them to take a look at it and be prepared. We hope if they're still doing paper files, which so few doctors are these days, that this will be kept in your child's file and will be reviewed at every visit. Many offices are now on electronic medical records, and this can be uploaded and attached to an electronic medical record or health record. Beyond the first 2 pages, we then go into just a little bit of explanation of why each of these areas is important and why the physician should be checking into them. Okay, I'm just scrolling through. I wish this had been available to me as a family. I sort of created something like this out of concern, out of worry, out of how do I help people? I don't want to be the expert in Rett syndrome. I want to walk into a doctor's office and feel like the doctor knows as much about the syndrome as I do. I want to be the expert on my child. We want to have you feel the same way. And that's why we have really are so grateful to have had our network of Rett experts produce this simplified list. Right? It's very difficult to simplify a complex syndrome into a 2-page checklist, but they did it. So we're very happy to bring this to you in 2019. So again, you can download it directly from this the handout section, or you can get to it on our website, and you should have received it by email. A little further down is a food and drink log. I would say that beyond the genetic mutation, nutrition and growth is probably one of the biggest areas of concern and occupies the majority of our quality of life with our kids, and something that we all worry about day in and day out. How much are they eating? How much are they drinking? Is it enough? Are they growing? If you go in to talk to your doctor, gastroenterologist, nutritionist, pediatrician, this log would be a wonderful thing for you to have completed before arriving, so that if they are doing those measurements on a scale of height and weight and BMI, they can have a quick reference then to look at what her intake is. And then they can look at those growth charts that Sam talked about and be able in a visit to have a real concrete, effective conversation about what might be going on. If you need a referral, or if maybe we can just, take a look at the amounts and quantities and kinds of foods. We'll be working on a seizure log to help you track if and when seizures might be an issue for your child. So you can look for that to come later this year. But this is an incredible tool. We hope all of the Rett clinics will be using them. I authored them and produced them, but we really want to get this into the hands of all pediatricians and primary care physicians. And it goes through issues from childhood through adulthood. So you're getting the first look at this. And again, we don't want it to overwhelm you. We want it to be a tool that will help you and relieve some of the burden of your worry of keeping track if these things are done. That should be your pediatrician's job. And if you make your visits, you bring these checklists. Whoops. Sorry, just lost my audio. Hope that's better. Okay, you'll be more confident that you're doing everything you can for your child. And that really gets to that emotional health and well-being, that if you feel like, okay, I'm taking care of this stuff, I'm being attentive, then you can relax into the diagnosis a little bit, be a healthier family, and say, okay, now we're going to look to research, and we're going to wait for these clinical trials and the research progress to give us the ultimate gift of treatments and a cure. But in the meantime, I, as a parent, can sleep better at night knowing that I am following the best advice and recommendations out there. These guidelines are universal. They are not specific to the United States. They are specific to Rett syndrome. So they should translate well no matter where you live in the world. Okay, so that's our big announcement for starting the year in 2019. And I want to thank everyone who contributed to the production of the guidelines. The other two things I wanted to share with you, and if you have any questions about these guidelines, please type them into the question box of the webinar, and we'll open it up for questions in a minute. The other place I wanted to show you on our website is the two main areas of education that we have committed to continue to offer to you in 2019. So you're with us today. That's not the end of our relationship. We are with you always, in both ways, formal and informal. Informally, you can reach Sam and I through email, through our phones, anyone at rettsyndrome.org, any of our clinics at the moment of need. But we are also have a calendar of events that we hope that you will put on your priority list to join us and stay in contact. Now, one of them, I'm going to click over here, is our RettEd webcasts. So in 2019, we're going to continue with monthly webcasts on specific topics where we can do a deep dive on Rett syndrome with our Rett syndrome experts. And you can sign up and attend these if it's a topic of interest to you. And if it's not, don't worry, we'll record it We'll post the recording on our website, and if it becomes an issue or something that another Rett family that you know is having struggles with, you can point them to these recordings. So here on our website, go to rettsyndrome.org, go to For Families, click on RettEd, and you can see the topics for the next few months. Okay? And then if you scroll down, you can click and you can see all of the recordings from last year's RettEd. Some really good stuff out there. Okay. Virtual is great. It allows you to tune in from your desktop, whether you're at home or you're at work, but nothing replaces the value that we get and the strength and empowerment that we gain from being together. In 2019, we are partnering regionally to host education days. So I just clicked over on our website, again from the homepage, rettsyndrome.org. I'm going to scroll to For Families, and I'm come right down over here to Ed Days. And I'm going to show you a calendar of events where our clinics and regional partners are working independently or in collaboration with rettsyndrome.org to offer a full day of education in person on site. So starting in April, we have our first Ed Day, which will be April 12th in St. Louis at Washington University Rett Clinic. April 27th is an education day in Minneapolis, St. Paul, hosted by the Midwest Rett Syndrome Foundation in conjunction with Gillette Children's Specialty Rett Syndrome Clinic. May 18th will be a RettEd Day hosted by rettsyndrome.org with Children's Hospital at Philadelphia. And this is going to be in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, which is right across the street from Sesame Place. So we are hoping that this Ed Day will combine a day of education with a day of fun. Sesame Place is one of the only amusement parks in the United States that is designed specifically for people with special needs. So we hope to show you real life how to combine both education and support for Rett syndrome with family fun and togetherness and community. June 22nd, we'll be in Boston at Boston Children's Hospital working with the Rett program there to bring you a day of education. In July, we'll be in Northern California working with UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital, Katie's Clinic for Rett Syndrome team to bring you a day, and that's going to be an outdoor education day at a place called Camp Arroyo, Livermore. It won't be in a conference room, it won't be a hospital, it will be out an outdoor education with on-site therapies and combined with presentations on research and other areas of interest. In August, the Northwest Rett Syndrome Foundation has, for many, many, many years, organized an incredible weekend annually in a resort-type setting with a variety of experts throughout the weekend, combined with a variety of social outings and fun, again, to build community. And in October, the New Jersey Rett Syndrome Association is planning an education day, and October is still a little ways away, so we don't have the exact date yet, but that'll all be coming soon. So I want you to bookmark this page and know that it's out there. We'll be working in the next couple of weeks to finalize details and get registration open. But we hope that whether it's one of our regional partners, that it's within driving distance for you. And we've looked at the United States and said, okay, where do we have a concentration of families and there's not already a great education event happening? Let's reach out and partner with those clinics to make one happen. So last year we did our Ed Days in Nashville and Los Angeles. They were amazing. We had great feedback. We said we have to continue this in 2019, and we hope you're as excited about these as we are, and we hope that we will see you and get to spend some time together in person. Okay, so those were the three things that I really wanted to talk about in my presentation today, was introduce you to the primary care guidelines. Please print them out, email them, make it your New Year's gift to your pediatrician. I know they will be grateful to have access to this. I want you to know that we'll be here for you every month virtually to offer you a deep dive on a topic specific to Rett syndrome. If there's something going on in your life or a question that you have and you don't see it as a topic, just reach out and let me know, and we can organize a webcast on it, because if it's an issue for you, I can guarantee you it's an issue for many others in our community, right? Just want to repeat the message that you're not alone on this journey, and we're here to help you. And for you to get together with families locally, build that community, offline, in person, be able to check out each other's wheelchairs and strollers and devices, and just see how families travel and be together, and to get a stronger relationship with your local clinics, please plan to join one of our Ed Days. So that concludes the information that I wanted to share with you today. So I'm going to go back to our homepage slide. There we go, and just kind of leave that up. And at this point, I want to go to the questions that have been submitted. So Sam and Tristen, can I just do a check that you're with us? I think if you're on mute, great.
Yep.
Okay.
Sam's here.
Fabulous. Okay. So actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause my screen so that I can pull up the questions that have come into the queue, and we can take them in order. Okay. The first question that came in is from one of our families in Canada, and they are asking if the information that we shared today is relevant to Canadians as much as they are to folks in the U.S. And Tristen, why don't I let you take that one first?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think healthcare up there is a little bit different. We've had a family come down and see us in the clinic with a slightly different diagnosis from up there, but I think we've had, but they had a good experience, and I think they've used us as a resource, but I think that it does apply, even though your healthcare up there is a little different. But I do think that it all applies, because it's still just getting plugged in where you need to be plugged in, still finding the right resources, getting plugged in with other families, and making sure you're taking care of you. So I think it still all really applies. So.
Fantastic. Yeah. So healthcare system might be different in Canada versus US, but again, the symptoms and progression of the disorder and the mutation in the MECP2 gene is universally the same. So I think that the lines we have are very much applicable. I would agree with you on that, Tristen. So school systems also different, access to therapy, insurance plans, all those do vary by country, but again, come back to what are the recommendations for the best quality of life today. And if you follow those, you should hopefully find a local expert who can help you how to access great education, communication, therapies, and medical care. I hope that answered your question. If not, please type up a follow-up question. Sam, do you have any comments or advice for our Canadians?
I do. I'd like to share that if you go to our website under For Families, you will see resources for families, and you can go down to international resources. In there, you will see around the world. You will see each of the resources there in Canada specifically as well.
Okay. So rettsyndrome.org, For Families, international resources, right? And there's a lot of the Canadian associations listed right there, and you can link through to their foundations, and they are great partners. We know each other. We all work together to support families. And
I think they call in to our calls sometimes, don't they?
They do, and they help to contribute to the production of the guidelines.
Yeah.
They're part of our North American network. So very specifically, Canadians are very, very actively involved with our network. So great question. Thank you. Okay, so the again, if that didn't answer your question, type in an add-on and we'll get to it. We've got about 10 minutes left for our webcast today. Lots of people have asked if the webinar will be recorded, and yes, reminder, it is being actively recorded, and the link will come to your email within the next day or two, and we will have the recording link posted on our website. Share it far and wide. We know that not everybody can make these days and times live, but we know frequently families attend the webcast and then they say, oh, I know someone this information is really perfect for, and they forward the recording link. We want you to do that. We have a family who wrote in and said, not a question, just a comment. This webinar is by far one of my favorites. We were diagnosed 2 years ago, so we aren't newly diagnosed, but we are in the newer category. And as primary caregiver and grandmother, we needed this, so thank you. I wanted to just read that one out loud and say you're welcome, and I hope that it has been meaningful for everybody. We also have a comment from our communication director that there is a version of the primary care guideline on our website, and that is, I think, a better formatted version. So if you go to Rett Syndrome, let's see, again, rettsyndrome.org, about Rett Syndrome, under Care Guides, a better formatted version is available for you to download here, maybe than the one that I attached. But regardless, I want you to know where you can access it on the website, and hope you can get that out to everybody. Okay. Primary care guidelines will also be posted on our Facebook page and on Twitter. So we are going to do our part to get it cast far and wide. Oh, okay. And this is a great comment. Thank you. A request that we change the cover page of the primary care guidelines to a white background instead of a purple background, so it won't be a drain on an inkjet printer. I think that we can take that one and make an adjustment pretty easily. That's great. Thank you. This is exactly the kind of feedback that we can do. Small adjustments that will make a big change. The little things are the big things in Rett syndrome. Tristen, you said it. We appreciate feedback. We appreciate this feedback, and we can make these things happen.
That is perfect.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that write-in comment. Okay. So I think that's it in the comment queue right now, but we still have another minute if we have anyone who wants to ask a question directly related to any of the information we shared here today, or a comment that you would like to share with all of the attendees. I'm happy to read any type-in questions. The function of this technology. Oh, great, thank you. This is a good question, Tristen. I am going to let you answer this. Okay, the question is, if we're dropping a doctor, do we have an obligation to tell them? For example, we're no longer getting value from our developmental pediatrician.
I mean, I would, and I think it's up to you whether you tell them why, but I would, I think it depends on your relationship with them too. I think that if you're like, you know what, we're no longer going to see you, they'll be like, oh, okay. I think most providers will either just say, okay, or they'll be like, oh, is there a particular reason why? You know, some offices will want to know why, and it's up to you whether you say, you know, we're no longer seeing value, and whether they'll say, oh, do you want to come in and talk about that? And you can say yes, or you can say no. I think that's just relationships, and whether you think they would actually want to see you and give input on that, or whether they would not. But I think that's just up to you. But I think I would just let them know, like, oh, we won't need any more follow-up appointments. We no longer need your service. I think that's just so you don't keep getting hassling phone calls from someone maybe. But But I think it's good input just to give the office like, hey, we're no longer going to need to see you, because I think sometimes they let the provider know, and the provider's like, oh, we'll put that in our note that we're no longer going to see you. They'll let the pediatrician know. Again, it's referring all those notes back, like those arrows, back to the pediatrician, so the pediatrician then knows, oh, they're no longer seeing this provider, and they can follow up and say, hey, why'd you guys stop seeing the developmental pediatrician? You can say, oh, we just weren't seeing any input. And they can be like, oh, what else could we be doing for X, Y, and Z? And you could say, I don't know. What should we do for these behaviors? Is there anything else we could do, or is there not? So I think that's just, again, referring back into the pediatrician would be my my thing that they would hopefully do. But or you could just let your pediatrician know and they can note it. But I think it's all relationships. It's what works for you. So
I agree. I think it's a good courtesy, and it's also, they may know something about their specialty that they haven't gotten to yet with you, and they're planning to get to it, and so by letting them know that you're feeling that you're not getting value, that can happen. Again, things with our girls and boys can be transient, can come and go, and it's hard to keep up with all of these appointments. And as long as you're asking yourself the question, is it this specific developmental pediatrician that I'm not getting value from, or is my child growing and outgrowing the need for this specialty? It's a good conversation to have with yourself. It's a good conversation to have with that practitioner, and it's a good conversation to have back with your pediatrician or primary care provider. Good answer, Tristen. Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Okay. Another question. We've got a couple questions. Everyone's anxious now that we're going to be wrapping up our webcast. So we're going to start going through these quickly. What can we expect, and this one is for you, Tristen, what can we expect from our first visit to a Rett clinic? If you could summarize that again. I know that it's not the same for every clinic, but what would a family expect by visiting a Rett Expertise Center?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. So most clinics are going to do, most of us ask for a group of records beforehand, and we have you fill out paperwork, just so we have a general idea of what's going on with your child and a background. So we're not walking into the visit with kind of blind eyes, and we have a baseline of what's going on. So then when we go into the visit, again, it depends where you live. So say someone lives local here, we're going to be more of a resource for them locally. So after we see them, we're going to provide them with, here's recommendations in terms of your Rett care. So say in terms of seizures, we're going to say, okay, these medications tend to work best for those with a Rett diagnosis for seizures. We've also seen that these medications tend not to work as well. That's based off of research and being part of the natural history study. These are the things that being a part of research is really helpful for us because we've pulled this from the data. And that's where we're able to consult and then take back to your neurologist and say, okay, they've said these kind of things tend to work best, or has the diet worked well, or these kinds of things. Because I think the patients come in saying, have you seen that the diet's worked well, and those kind of things. We can consult and say, this is what we've seen, and research has worked well. And so we work as a consultative program usually. Some clinics take over care, and they then take those patients on and see them frequently. They'll bring them in for and see them and take over care. And so it just, again, depends on the program. Our program here I can speak to really well just because that's what I run, but we'll then send a note to the patient, to the neurologist, and the pediatrician when that patient leaves saying, here's what all of our specialists have said and recommend in terms of Rett care, and here's what we recommend in terms of care. Here's what GI issues we tend to see, and here's what tends to help. Here's the things we recommend, and we work with that pediatrician or that GI doctor back where they live. So say we see a patient in Nebraska, we work with that local GI doctor back in Nebraska and say, okay, what issues are they having? Okay, here's what we recommend. And then that GI doctor back home then carries out those recommendations we've made. That's kind of how it works for us, but it depends on each location. So that's why you kind of call beforehand and say, how does it work for your clinic, and see what works for you. So that's typically how it works. Again, it's all just, we try to really direct Rett specific care, I think, at each clinic, because if we try to, do the whole gamut, it's kind of hard. But we really do try to get a good basis of what's going on with your child, though, beforehand as well. Did that answer the question? Does that make sense, Paige?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I'll ask. The parent said, yes, thank you. That was wonderful.
Oh, perfect.
And I agree with you. I think that the thing that you can expect universally from all of the Rett expert clinics are a good bit of time on the phone in advance, getting records, questionnaires, information about your child, so the practitioners can be really prepared and ready to have a valuable conversation and assessment. What that will look like the day of your first visit is going to vary from clinic to clinic, and the number of people you might see in that visit might vary as well. But there will be some pre-work on your behalf and on their behalf that will happen. You'll have a great visit and a chance to ask all of your questions at your visit, and then they will partner with you to make recommendations for any follow-ups or adjustments that they feel are needed. And that's what they're really there for. They're also there to help you know what research is available and open and accessible for you to enroll and participate in. So I recommend to everybody, keep a journal, start writing down any questions that you have, because you think you're going to remember everything that's on your list. And you will get in there and you're going to be a little starstruck when you're in front of your Rett expert, and you're going to forget some things. It's also, just can be a long day. So don't trust that your memory that might be sleep deprived and a little tired is going to remember. I also recommend, if you have the chance, to bring someone with you on your visit to a Rett clinic. That's really helpful. Our kids all have varying levels of tolerance and different needs and different levels of energy throughout the day. And it's really hard if you're trying to focus and ask for questions, get answers, and meet your personal care needs at the same time during that visit. So the more hands you have to help, the more benefit you personally are going to take away from that visit. And Tristen, I don't know about you, but I think the majority of clinics really are happy to have as many family members, teachers, therapists, whoever attend those clinic visits, that everybody is hearing something and can benefit in different ways. Would you agree?
I totally agree. Yeah, I agree. And, you have to bring siblings who figure it out, or if I have to hold a baby, I'll do it. It's a tough job. We definitely do what we got to do. And if we have to walk the hallways and talk to you, we figure out what we have to do, because, most of our clinics do last a little bit longer because of it is multidisciplinary. You're seeing people for a longer time. And, our clinic, because you are seeing so many people, it lasts 5 hours, and that's a long time for any child to last. And so it gets a little unruly by the end. Parents involved. Parents are like, okay, are we done yet? And so it's a long day. And so just preparing for that, we try to feed them food and coffee, but by the end, I think everyone's like, all right, let's do this. So it's just preparing for the best and doing what you can. But it's every day I get to the end and I'm like, all right, we have clinic tomorrow. And I get to the end and I go, all right, was it worth it? And I haven't had anyone say no yet, because they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. Because even in their, exhausted burnout eyes, they're just like, oh, it was good. And so I always want to hear that it was worth the travel and worth the exhausting day. But we definitely wear everyone out, and your brain is tired, and my brain's tired.
Yeah, it's exhausting, it's intense, it's emotional in good ways and bad, and everyone's, again, endurance is different, but it is well worth it. And you get to see all shades of Rett syndrome when you visit a clinic. You will meet other families in addition to getting to meet the practitioners. So if you have any questions about any of the individual clinics, you're welcome to give me a call. I work with all of them, and I know all of them really well. So we are going a little bit past our committed 90 minutes, but we have one more question, which I think is of value, and then we're going to wrap up for the day, and we will get the recording links out for everybody. But the question came in, and I think this is a really important one early on in the diagnosis. If you get this diagnosis, what you think was a great pediatrician, you're suddenly feeling now you're going down a different path, a different journey, and you're not the right one. How do you go about finding a better one? And I can comment on that, and then Tristen or Sam, if you have anything to add and include your final closing comments for the day, that would be great. This is where I think getting into your network is what's required for your local community. Syndrome is rare. It's not likely that you have another family down the street or maybe even in your town that has Rett syndrome. But if you do, and they're a little further on the journey, start there. Ask another family if they have a pediatrician that they like, and are they taking new patients. And another idea is to call into the office and talk to that pediatrician and just say, is there anyone in your practice, if it's a multi-doctor, multi-pediatrician practice, who might have more of a specialization in rare diseases or special needs? And would it be okay if I met with that pediatrician? No one is going to be offended. Doctors come with thick skins. They want you to have the best care possible. So use the network, use social media, use our website. We have doctors that have been recommended by other families. And maybe sometimes just taking in this new primary care guideline, sitting down with the pediatrician and just having a frank conversation. Setting up a meeting with them that is not the appointment time for your child, right? Every doctor has an office. You can make an appointment. You can go in and sit down and have a conversation. They may agree. Say, you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm not an expert in rare diseases, but there's another pediatrician in our town that I think the world of. Let me put in a referral. If it works for your insurance plan or in your network, then you can get those wheels turning. But you really have to kind of go into your network. Tristen, do you have anything to add on that note?
I think that was all perfect. And I think if you need to call and have your local Rett clinic advocate for you, like I had a patient really recently that couldn't get their diapers refilled, and I called that pediatrician's office, and believe you me, I had to give them my peace of mind because the pediatrician, I'm air quoting right now, did not believe in writing prescriptions for children 8 years old that needed diapers. He's like, well, I don't believe that Medicaid should have to provide this child diapers. I was on fire, and I was like, this child doesn't want to have to use diapers at 8 years old, but she has to, and that is what Medicaid is for. And so I fired them on the spot for the family, and I said, this is inappropriate. This is what you should be doing for the family. And because he does not believe in providing these kinds of services for these kinds of family, this family does not want to see them anymore. So then I had to call the family and say, listen, so I just fired your pediatrician. We're going to have to find someone new. Because if you have a provider that does not believe in providing these services for your child, you do not want to see them, because they do not, he is not aligned with care for your child. Let's find someone else. And I was okay doing that because it was so inappropriate of that provider to say that's what he believed. And I was like, you're not changing his mind. You're going to run into so many other walls with that provider over other things that are inappropriate. And you want someone who's willing to advocate and run up those walls or break those walls down for you, not put them up. And so you do what you got to do. And if that means calling and getting us on your team or doing whatever, that's what we're here for. And so just remembering we're here on your team to do what we got to do. I think remembering there's within the hospital, we here at our hospital, and I think some of the bigger centers near you, if you have one, we have a special care clinic. We have specialty pediatricians here within our hospital that also take on patients that have higher needs or are seeing a lot of specialists. So remembering there's other options like that within hospitals. So just remembering there is also asking your neurologist maybe, or asking, you know what, do you have a pediatrician out in the community that you like or that you've worked with? Sometimes even calling and asking the nurses in the neurology clinic, do you have a pediatrician you like? That's how I picked mine for my kids, was one that was calling and consulting all the time for our patients. And I was like, she is so good. She really was consulting for these patients a lot. I'm picking her. And I think just knowing that sometimes even the nurses in the clinic will be like, oh, there's a great office that's always calling on patients and they're really good. Just knowing you people know and people take note of this kind of stuff. So just work in your resources. Just work it and keep trying and being the advocate. And if you need someone just to give you a pep talk and saying you're doing a good job when you're hitting walls, give us a call, give Sam a call, give us all a call, because that's what we're here for, is to say, you know, you're doing a good job, keep working on it, because that's what you're there for, and you know your child best and what they need.
Great. Couldn't have said it better, Tristen. Thank you. Yep. At the end of the day, sit down, have an honest conversation, and if you are not aligned, fire them, get someone new. And if you need some help, feel uncomfortable with that, you've got an army of people here who will be happy to do it for you. And as you can tell, Tristen will happily do whatever it takes to get the right provider for your child. We're just so grateful to have you, Tristen. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today.
I'll just fire people. It's fine.
And it doesn't mean that it'll be easy to find the next best, greatest person. Same will be for getting a caregiver in your home, if that becomes something that is an option and available to you. Sometimes you have to kind of go through a few before you write that. You know, you have to kiss a couple of frogs before you find your prince. And, your children, they don't have time on their side, and we don't have time to sit by and watch them not get the best care. So be an advocate and don't be afraid. And if you need our support, we're here for you. Thanks for being with us, Tristen. Sam, have anything to add to that or some closing comments? We'd love to hear your voice before we sign off for the day.
Yes, I think the closing comment I have is, you are your child's best advocate. You know them best, and you have intuition within you. Use that intuition. If you're not comfortable in a caregiver's office, if you're not comfortable with a caregiver, if you have a question within you that you ask and it's not answered correctly, or you don't feel good with the answer, move forward with what you feel is right for your child.
That's wonderful advice. And if you find that in time you get yourself into a position where you feel like you have learned some things, you want to share some things, you want to volunteer with RettSyndrome.org, you want to be that mentor to others, you want to help fundraise, you want to help with any of the programs or services that we are coordinating, and that you have something to lend, everything that we have has been built collectively off of the collective wisdom of our families and our practitioners. So if you want to get further involved with our organization, just reach out to Sam. She can help you with what your family specifically needs, and she can also be a gateway to empowering you to be a better, bigger part of a larger Rett syndrome community. So I want to make sure that you get that takeaway message as well, because it's really empowering when you hold a fundraiser or you get involved on a committee. It gives you a sense of control on this journey that you may not have in other areas, and that is a really empowering feeling. So that leads me to our closing slide, which is our topic for next month, which is Rett Syndrome Research Outlook 2019 and beyond. We really wanted to start this year off right with a sense of our family empowerment mission and our commitment to that mission and how we're there for you and your individual family. The other leg of our mission is our commitment to research, advancing critical, basic, translational, clinical research find the ultimate gift for our kids, which is better treatment and ultimately a cure. So if you will, please join us next month to hear from our Chief Science Officer, Steve Kaminsky, and our Grants Manager, Janice Ascano, who are going to take us into the world of research, explain strategy, explain outlook, explain clinical trials, and the natural history study, and all the ways that you as a family can participate and contribute to that advancement. So with that information, I would also encourage you to please take the time to email me with comments and feedback. We can continue to fine-tune our webcast moving forward. I appreciate it. We appreciate you. We hope to see you here next month, Tuesday, February 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern for our next RettEd webcast, or at one of our Ed Days. Thank you so much for your time today, and look for an email with the link to the recording. And that concludes our webinar for today. Thank you, everybody.